Welcome to channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one all getting the insight. Now today's video is all about some updates. Obviously if you're been focusing and interested about skill migration, this is the video for you. Now, obviously we have gone through the job and skills summit. We know about the increase of the quota from the annual intake from 160,000 up to 195,000, and also given all the allocations. Well, have they given the allocation to all the state and territories? That puts me on a question mark. I don't feel they actually haven't done it. I think the government of Australia has actually utilized this from September, October, and all the way towards the end of the year before Christmas to sort out all the backlog. From what I can feel about it, I think they're just sorting out backlog at this point of time. Why do I say that? Let's have a look. And also there is a paper public for the stakeholder to actually get a possible change for a better immigration system in the future. We'll have a look at the end of this video as well. Now, first of all, let's check out the invitation rounds. Now, obviously, if you are interested about skill migration, invitation round is the web page you always want to come in. So let's have a look. Today is actually the 26th of November. It's only about a month ago that we finished the year of 2022 and heading to Christmas and New Year. So what do we have? Obviously, a lot of people ask whether or not there has been any updates. Now, unfortunately, no updates, because as you can see, they're still sticking at the October 6th in the invitation, where they have done 2 lots of bulk invitation on medical and also engineer people. But at this point in time, end of November, we haven't seen anything happening, but I think they are looking to sort out a lot of backlog. As you can see from a previous video, and the news came out from an announcement from the Minister of Immigration, Andrew Giles, saying that there's about 740,000 left still, while clearing from 1 million backlog, and they're aiming to shrink it down to about 600,000. That's still massive. 600,000 and 740,000. Gosh, how many visa applications out there? So, well, look, it's better that they sorted that out, and perhaps when we come back from 2023, we can have a better flow of invitation going on. And let's have a look. Victoria, obviously, Victoria is taking an election this weekend. Don't know which party was gonna win, but anyway, it's all good. It's a democratic country of Australia. As you see the news and event, we're still sticking at the 31st of October's news, which, what is this? Business innovation investment? That's not interested by all the skilled migrants. But well, why not? Let's have a look, because basically says it's receiving Victoria government's for skill and business migration program exceed 170 interim places allocated. Only 170? Didn't they raise from 160,000 to 195,000, and the interim was 100? Well, remember, if you've been following my channel long enough, this interim allocation is actually planned from the previous government. The new allocation has not been given out. It's the same for all the business innovation and investment program throughout different states. It's the same happening in Queensland. So if we have a look, business migration program for Queensland. Now, obviously, if you're focusing on 1AA visa, I've got clients putting in EOI, but waiting because it's been temporarily suspended from 8th of November 2022. Well, don't know what's gonna happen. I think, ultimately, the federal government will definitely throw those allocation in for all the state and territory program. Now, does it stop all the other skill migrant? No, it is not. So there are still people getting invited, either going to be a 491 or 190. There are still a lot of invitation around for skill migrants, but I still don't feel the bulk number has actually been thrown in. How do you feel about it? I don't think it's actually there still. I think the focus of the federal government now, obviously Department of Home Affairs and Immigration, is still focusing on clearing the backlog, because if they can't clear the backlog, well, how are they gonna deal with the all the other new ones and creating more troubles, isn't it? It's like you know, Christmas. You just want to clean up tidy up your house. Obviously you want to tidy up, clean it up before you have a party. Obviously after the party you need to clean up and tidy up again. But anyway, I think that's where the process is going. Now let's move to Tasmania, because Tasmania does provide a little bit more update information, and we have a look, and we also check out the Western Australia, where they publish what sort of EOI skill points they invited. So final stage opening. What final? All eligible candidate. Is that the last phase? I'm not too sure. Tasmania government still migration state nomination program is now open for IELTS for all eligible candidates. This means that candidate who meets minimum requirement of nomination pathway registered their interest in nomination. This includes candidates who are eligible for orange pass. So, well, anyway, that I think there's a gold, green, and orange. Orange is actually the lower end. So I think, well, they have to do it. I mean, Tasmania is a small economy. If they don't do it, who else want to move to Tasmania? So new migration Tasmania application gateway updates. A new migration gateway that you need to go through it. Interim ROI process. The interim ROI process will remain in place, and all candidates who meet the minimum nomination pathway published on the website must see invitation to apply. Well, that's probably a little bit redundant. I mean, who can apply without invitation? Anyway, candidate who has at least one goal attribute chose a pathway will immediately be invited. Tell me, if you're in Tasmania, have you been nominated or invited by Tasmania? I want to hear about it, and maybe leave a comment right down below. At least one green attribute. Now this is where the complication comes. Every state and territory is changing and making their criteria more complex. So we need to go back to the old video that I have done, talking about the criteria for Tasmania's skill migration and checking each of those attributes. And you need to meet at least one to actually be chosen and be nominated in 2 weeks. You need to apply the nomination within 2 weeks, not nominated by 2 weeks. Sorry. So candidates who have orange attribute may be invited. So maybe they put a italic, a may. But anyway, so how many actually have they been invited? These people, there is actually no numbers here. But anyway, I will say. No, still, I'm not a big fan of skill migration in Tasmania and Northern Territory, because the economy is small. Even if you get a visa, you probably can't. There's just too many people saying they just can't find any job there. And also New South Wales. The New South Wales is still sticking with that 110 points. I don't know when they're gonna remove that or replace that. But anyway, let's go into this one. Western Australia, which is actually more interested, because they published the actual numbers. So this is the most recent one that they have. You can see the date. It's late October and some of November ones. You can see the points is actually around where I have marked in my previous video, or my prediction, about 70 to 75 to 85, 70 to 80, up and down a little bit. About some of the occupation is actually require higher, because you see the first two. Now for this general stream schedule 1, the WASHMO schedule 1 are predominantly all the medical people. So as you can come down and have a look over the overseas, and even some of Western Australians nomination, dental technician, it's around 70 to 80 points. You can see that. And some of them is 95, pathologist, some, but most of them are sticking with about 75 to 70 to 80. Some of them pretty low at 65. So you can look at nurses. So studying nurses in a post-pandemic era is still a very good way to go. Now, the WASHMO Schedule 2 predominantly nominating and inviting professions from Western Australia itself. So they state of residence are all in Western Australia. So if you're not in the Western Australia, problem. So these are people working there. So some of it is with 100 points. That's biotech and building and engineering technician, but others are about 85. I think that's a fair mark because they have been working there for quite a while. ICT people are about 80 to 90 points. Now if we go down to the graduate stream, that means people who study in Western Australia. Okay, as you can see, the points is still sticking at around 70 to 80 mark. Agricultural science scientists, I don't know how they're gonna aim at 105, but I think that's just some of the candidate who has actually had very, very high EOI points. But you can see the average is still around 70 to 80. If you study in Western Australia, you could look at this. And what I'll do, I'll actually post this link in the comment right down below. Not the comment, in the description section there. Okay, so you can see there's a lot, but I'm not going to go through every single occupation, but it's landing around 70, 80 marks. Remember, if we go back to Queensland's skill migration website, it does differentiate it with the points by if you reaching 80 plus, you get invited under subclass 190, but 80 below you go through 491 visa. So I think that's where the cutting marks is actually it's matching to what I have predicted as well. Now last but not least, let's have a look at this one. Now it's very detailed. You don't have to go read through all this discussion paper published in November 2022 for the migration system for Australia's future. There's a lot of content in here, although there's only 12 page talking about somewhat of a productivity history data of Australia's immigration system. But I think the most interesting part is where they start talking about skilled labor shortage. The impact of COVID-19 also exacerbated ongoing structural and skilled labor shortage, and it's not just Australia, it's worldwide phenomenon. So everyone everywhere around the world is seeking for skill and talents. So there's probably never before nation around the world is actually looking for a better improvement of their populations of skill and things. So the most important thing, interesting thing is not the numbers, but I think the question at the very end where the last page. Okay, here we go. Okay, I will read it out. You have listened. So these are developing new migration strategy. Review consider the following key questions. Individual organization interested in providing submissions. So there's actually a portal that you can actually submit this answers if you wish to. Okay, what challenges and opportunity does Australia face in the coming decades? Well, obviously, if asking me, skill shortage, and also the manufacturing, Australia's own lack of manufacturing, and that was the key issue when they hit the pandemic hit. How can migration contribute to those challenges and opportunity? How do we best use our migration program to grow the economy? How can we design a system to support complement the opportunities to extend? Should availability of visa and work rights? Should we take different approach? How can we better prevent exploitation, prevent permanent temporary cohort? How could we best use migration to assist Australia to build up sovereign capability, attract and retain best talent, ensure migration programs support Australian interests, and especially regional Australia? So, well, look, these questions are pretty common. I mean, what else can you really ask? But specifically going to the technical and legal parts, it's actually going into very tough. Well, for example, the work employment visa. I think it's really badly designed, where they put, a nominator, an employer need to put 3 job ads, which is just doesn't make any sense. Why would you need to do that? And how can they actually promote regional growth and the talent to actually get promoted there? So tough. It's tough, especially in the post-pandemic world. Look at what Canada is doing. Should Australia follow what Canada is doing? Don't know. Leave a comment right down below. What are the current potential barrier? How can the system implement fairer for both migrants and employer? Here we go. Okay, migration system more flexible, more accessible for small employer. Exactly. Small employer, how can they employ people when they need to put 3 jobs ads, waiting for 1 year to actually get someone to be granted with a visa? That just won't work. How could longer term planning support investments and the barrier of participating in migrants' labor markets? I think previous 457 is actually quite good, and you should just leave it as a market-driven and demand-driven program, rather than putting so much constraints on, and then suddenly small and medium-sized business just can't afford. I mean, you pay the money and you're gonna wait for 1 year for a visa for the skilled talent to actually work for you. It's not fair for the employer. It's not also fair for the employee. And who got the best? Who got the most? It was the government. Obviously, the former Australian government. Okay, number 4, the reform needs to ensure migration system can meet the challenges, opportunity that lies ahead. Well, the challenges is actually a lot, because we are in a post-pandemic world. We see the war going on in Europe, and the shaky in the Pacific Rim. All sorts of issues, all sorts of inflations and things. How can better identify and respond to the future of labour market needs, structure the pathway to permanent residency and citizenship, further strengthen and maintain Australian public confidence, and underpin the future migration system? Now, this is all very open question. I mean, if you're not a legal profession, or people like me being in the industry for 10-20 years, it's probably very hard to answer those questions. But anyway, this is just for you to actually have a review. Maybe you have some idea, you can leave a comment right down below, and I see you next video. Goodbye.